Good evening, everyone. I'm Carolyn McCarty with the Illinois PTA. And I'd like to thank you for joining us tonight for the Leadership Series Diversity Workshop from National PTA, Valuing Diversity and Leading with Inclusion. We will be recording this call so that we can put it up online for those who are unable to join with us tonight. So I would like to introduce to you Andrew Brenham. He is a National PTA board member at large, and he will be presenting the workshop tonight. And he wants to introduce himself, so I'm just going to turn it over to you, Andrew. Welcome, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much, Carolyn, for having me. I see, since it's such a small group of us, I would love if everyone could introduce themselves, if that's okay. I don't want to disrupt your recording, but it would be great to just hear everyone's kind of PTA story and how they first became involved, and also why folks are staying involved. But anyways, my name is Andrew. I'm from Lexington, Kentucky. I first joined the PTA actually as a high school student back in 2012. At my school, it was actually the PTSA, so students could be members. And I was actually the only student member that was part of the PTA, but it was it was an experience that I remember for a couple of reasons. First of all, because just funnily, my school had this Student of the Month competition that was run by the PTA, and they would always draw the name of a student every month to be Student of the Month from among the student PTA members. And being the only student PTA member, I was a consistent favorite. So that's my one PTA memory. And then my other it's just all of the advocates that I met around Lexington, who I'm still very in touch with, who are at the state legislature every year, who are showing up to school board meetings all the time, and who are really doing the work on behalf of Kentucky's children. My background now is in education policy, and specifically student voice in education policy. So I work both in Kentucky and on the national level, trying to support kind of more robust student involvement in education policymaking, research, and advocacy. And so I bring all that with me into today's conversation and to today's workshop. I was mentioning to Carolyn at the beginning, this is the first time that I've had the opportunity to facilitate this workshop. And so you'll have to bear with me a little bit, but I would love to, just in the beginning part of the conversation, especially since we have such an intimate group, if we could just go around quickly and have everyone introduce themselves. If you could just share maybe your name and where you're from, and then also just why you became involved in PTA, maybe why you're still involved. And if you want to throw in what diversity, equity, inclusion means to you, why don't you have at it? So Daniel, do you want to start, and then we can popcorn it around?
Sure. So my name is Dan Medina. I am the DuPage East Region Director, as well as the Stone PTA here in Addison, current secretary, but the president-elect for next year, and the Addison Council president for this year and elect for next year. So I have my hands full a little bit, but my PTA journey started as a dues paying member when my son entered kindergarten. And I really wasn't involved at that time as I am now. And then I really became involved after running for our local school board. And after finding out what else I can be involved in after that, and kind of just took off from there. And then, you know, obviously never being able to say no, like the rest of us. So that's kind of where we're at here. As far as diversity, equity, and inclusion, I'm very community oriented. That was one of the issues I ran on when I did my campaign. And so obviously, one of the things as our community is 42% Latino, so I'm very, very well versed in diversity and having that in the back of my mind whenever we run any of our programs. And it's not just getting the message out to our Spanish speakers, especially for my community, right? It's actually trying to get them involved and drawing our programs to be inclusive towards them. Just translating the message to that community doesn't meet that goal in my mind. As far as equity, equity doesn't mean equal for all, but it does mean at least getting a portion of the program, or if not the entire program, out to everybody. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Thanks, Daniel. Jim, do you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Jim Scalina. Currently, I am your Illinois PTA president, for those of you who are from Illinois. And I guess the how I got involved in PTA is I said, yes, I would help somebody serve pizza about 15 or 16 years ago at Family Fun Night at the fun fair at school. And then I went to pick up my children from a PTA meeting not too many months after that. And I hung around and they said, oh, we might need a treasurer. And I said, well, if no one else does it, I balance the checkbook at our house. I could do that. And we know how that goes. So here I am all those years later, after president and all sorts of stuff at elementary, junior high schools. I'm now the state treasurer, but the reason I'm still around, I have one daughter in college and one graduating high school now, and the high school doesn't have a PTA. They have a booster club, which we're involved in, but I think that parent and family involvement with schools, I think that is absolutely key to so many things that are quote unquote wrong in society today. And that's the reason I'm still around. My big thing is I like to say that I'm a community builder, and that's what I'm here to help PTA do however I can.
Thank you very much, Jim. Peggy, would you like to go next? Oops, Peggy, you're on mute.
How's that, better?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Peg Salem. I'm your Illinois PTA secretary. I'm part of Dan's club, that Can't Say No club. I was merely standing by the flagpole in the front of my children's school, and somebody came up to me and said, what are you doing tomorrow? I said, cleaning house. Oh, you don't want to do that. You want to be on the board. So 25 years later, I left the local unit board. I climbed the ladder. I was PTA, the state president, for a couple of years, and now I'm back as the secretary. I guess why I'm still involved is the fact that I've seen what this association has done for my children as far as parent involvement and parent engagement. And I think that's really important. And now that I have 8 grandchildren, I think that I would love every parent and everybody who has an interest in what's important for children to be part of the Illinois PTA.
Thank you, Peg. Shelley.
Hello, I'm Shelley. I am in Plainfield, Illinois. I have 3 children, a high schooler, middle schooler, and an elementary school student. And I actually just got involved in PTA this year, even though I have a 16-year-old, partly because I felt that the PTA at my school didn't necessarily reflect the diversity of the community that we were serving. And I felt for a long time, I don't want to say I didn't feel welcome, but I just didn't really feel like it was something that I was going to feel comfortable being a part of. So then I made it a point. I'm a former teacher too. So then I made it a point to go back and sub in the buildings and then get involved in the PTA. So right now I'm Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion, and we've spent this last year implementing programs. I've been putting my input in. I've been making it a point to go out of the way and contact some of those minority families and just be a face to kind of get rid of that soccer mom only persona that I think a lot of PTAs have that scare off a lot of families that maybe don't fit that cookie cutter norm. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you very much, Shelley. Rachel, would you like to go next?
Hi, I'm Rachel. I am in Palatine. I have 4 kids and second grader, kindergartner, and then 2 in preschool. I'm currently vice president at Winston Campus Elementary PTA, and like a lot of you, I got involved kind of by happenstance, and here I am still. Diversity is really important. I think a lot of what Dan said and Shelley said also goes for us too. Our older 2 children are in the Spanish dual language program. And our goal is to do better with reaching out to our Spanish speaking families. We have lots of Spanish speaking families, especially now that the dual language program is really picking up in popularity. And we need to do better than just translating flyers. So here to kind of learn a little bit more and see what we can do to reach out to families.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel. Maggie, would you like to go next?
Hi, yes, my name is Maggie. I'm in Downers Grove. Same as y'all. I I was asked and I said yes. We joke that I maybe went to 2 PTA meetings before actually becoming the vice president of the PTA. Now, of course, I go to all the meetings, and I will be co-president next year. We have a co-structure. I have 2 sons. I have a first grader and a third grader. And I have been involved in DEI efforts in my community and was very excited to see this this presentation with respect to the PTA, because as what Shelley said really resonated with me. We do have this visual of the soccer mom within the PTA that is can be pretty damaging and be non-welcoming. And the parallels I've seen from the DEI group that I'm in, with also the experiences I've had with parents within the PTA, I think just there are 2 parts of my worlds that I want to combine and to be able to honor DEI efforts in both, because it's very important within our schools. So I'm here to listen and learn and do better.
Thank you, Maggie. Marisol?
Oh, hi, I'm from Chamber, and I'm very, very new on all of this PTA. I started volunteering as a hot dog, selling hot dogs at school at the PTA, and that's pretty much all I know about the PTA. And but I grew up being part of the Lions Club. So service has always been like my passion. Even volunteer for hospice, I volunteer for soccer coaching, like anything, whenever someone needs, if I can be part of the solution, I want to be there. And then when I was volunteering for Hot Dog Day, they have been asking for a PTA president. And now that's why I'm here in these meetings, because I want to learn as much as I can. Because when no one raised their hands to be, then I offer to be a PTA president for our school. And yes, so I really would like to learn everything I can to improve and to bring to our school. Also, we have a very diverse community, and it will be nice to see different cultures and different perspectives in our PTA. And I have 2 kids. That's it.
Shelley, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I will say it's not very often that I find another Shelley in a meeting. So hello, namesake. My name is Shelley West. I am a parent in IPSD 204 in the Naperville area. I have 2 children in elementary school. My oldest will be graduating to middle school next year. I don't currently formally serve on our school's PTA, but am a active paying member. However, I do serve currently as co-chair of the Parent Diversity Advisory Council in our district, which is at the moment, a subcommittee of IPPC, so our overarching district PTA organization. So obviously my interest very much is in DEI work, and I've done that in the district and worked very closely with my PTA at my children's school over the last several years to bring that work, and now have a really unique opportunity to work with and partner with more closely our PTAs and our kind of overarching organization. So this is a great opportunity to learn more about statewide positions and initiatives and ideas, so that as we continue to build our partnership here in 204, that I can take that back to our teams and share with our parents.
Excellent. Thank you, Shelley, for joining. Maddie? We're last, but certainly not least. Maddie, are you there? Well, then we will come back to Maddie. But thank you, everyone, for taking the time to, oops, looks like we have, let's see. Looks like Maddie might be joining us. One moment. Hi, Maddie.
Hi, how are you?
Doing all right. How are you doing? We're just introducing ourselves and our kind of telling how we got involved in PTA and also what diversity and inclusion means to us. So wanted to see if you wanted to go before we got started with the rest of the workshop.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm a divorced parent of 3. I have 2 in college. I have 1 in middle school. I'm currently District 23 Director of PTA, the Douglas Academy School. I'm also a LSC member, a CAC member, an all-around mother. And today, well, I'm also pursuing, I don't want to make myself small, but I'm also pursuing my bachelor's degree at this time. And I graduate in July, and I'm going to go for my master's in psychology as well. So I'm teaching my college students, once you see mama graduate, then here you come. I want you to follow me. I want you to be better than me. And for me to be 55 and about to pursue my journey of master's degree, I think that's a major achievement. And in class a couple of weeks ago, my professor was talking about leadership. And that kind of hit home for me. And even though my skin tone might not match a lot of skin tones, I'm teaching my children each and every day to see a person for their heart. Don't focus on the color of your skin. And to me, diversity is everything, because when I see a person, I don't look at the book. I don't look at the cover. I look at the pages. Your actions speak louder to me than your appearance does. And that's why I want to enhance my leadership. So when I go out to my units, or when I'm interacting in church, or when I'm interacting in whatever I'm doing, I want to be able to be a stronger leader. If I can pull you over to me, or we can, compromise to make it better or stronger, that's my ultimate goal. So I want to see what leadership has to offer. So that's why I'm here. Leadership
Thank
training.
you very much. Thank you very much for joining us. Has everyone gotten a chance to introduce themselves?
No, I didn't. Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm sorry. I got another phone call. I had walked away for a minute.
Oh, no
Uh,
problem.
Catherine,
Nice.
Catherine,
Huh?
can you rename yourself? You were listed as Maddie Scott.
I get to miss it. What? Wait a
We were
minute.
just on a meeting together.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. We
Ca-
was on
Catherine,
another meeting together.
it's okay.
Go ahead.
Catherine, go ahead and I will rename you.
Yeah. I'm sorry, y'all.
No, you're fine.
I'm so tapped out right now. This is a leader. I'm so tapped out right now. I got to do a Georgia training in the morning. I'm going to be a Georgia election tomorrow. But anyway, I'm Catherine Jones, the Chicago, Illinois region PTA director. Have been for the last three years. I think the last going on 3 years. And I'm also a PTA president at Frederick Douglass High School. And my journey started, oh Lord, I'm gonna say my age in a few minutes. My journey started about 35 years ago. I just got to say it, I'm sorry, that's where I'm at, 35 years ago. When my oldest son is 40 now, my oldest son is 40 years old, and I started PTA, and when he was in Head Start. Head Start kindergarten at Tilton Elementary School. That's where I started at. And I've been PTA ever since then. As a parent, now I'm a community rep. I got 2 grown sons, and that's why I started PTA. They PTA babies. They grew up in PTA. I'm also an LSC member at Frederick Douglass High School. And like Ms. Scott just said, we are CAC members, and I just got for CAC meeting. So we have Austin CAC leadership in the Austin area, and we are membership of that. And I have been there for a long time. It's my compassion. This is in my blood, my compassion. I like to teach other parents how to be leaders, how to advocate for one thing, for their families, for their children especially, finding everything that I can teach them. I'm still here trying to do it and trying to get more leaders to come behind me when my time is up as region director, and trying to get more leaders enrolled. So that's what I'm at. I'm single. I'm a single mom. I'm single now. And I love it. I love it. And I'm not really working here and there doing stuff at the school, which I did today. And I was on PTA training and stuff, PTA this and that, Zoom. I'm Zoom out, but I'm still here. So I'm just all around busy person that's not sad or lonely. There's always something to do in my community and in our schools. And I love it. I love the compassion. I love doing it. And I love talking to trying to encourage young men in our community, the young men in our school, trying to encourage them to be, greater things, to advocate, to we just talked about today with my community rep at the school, how to civic learning, how to teach our kids. They are our next boys. They are next leaders. They can be Obamas. They can be John Lewis. They didn't know our heritage. We didn't know our heritage. So I love it. I love your smile tonight. You keep it up. I don't know, how old you are, but I keep it up and keep doing. That's why it's still in my young men's. They are 40 and 32. They can do great things. I want them to do great things than what mama have done. I want to leave a legacy for them, like my peoples did for me, my mother did for me. I want them to be the same thing. So I'm here as a leader, and I always will be until I'm going home to glory or whatever. But I'm here. Long time PTA member.
Thank you very much, Catherine, for joining us, especially right after another Zoom meeting. I'm sure, I think many of us would agree with you on the being all zoomed out. So in just a second, so I have a presentation that I'm going to zoom through, and then we're going to break into breakout groups to reflect a little bit on our own PTA units and how we have both encountered barriers to diversity, equity, inclusion, and then what we can do as a unit to kind of help to overcome some of those barriers and to create a more inclusive, welcoming, not only PTA, but also school and community. where everyone can feel like they belong. But before we do share the presentation, I just want to reflect on a second on some of the responses that you all gave, and just to pull out some of the themes that were across all of your responses. And I just want to say, so many of you talked about the importance that an invitation to join played when you first joined the PTA, that it wasn't just something that you joined on your own volition necessarily, but that someone asked you to get involved or asked you to step up, reached out a hand. And I think that's something that's important to remember as we're thinking about what it means to create an inclusive environment for the PTA. Where would you be in your PTA journey if it wasn't for the person that decided to reach their hand out for that invitation? And then just a comment on, the importance of diversity inclusion efforts more broadly. I mean, I know this will be differently true for folks across the state as it is here in Kentucky, but so many of our schools are becoming very, very diverse. More and more are there students that look like me, not necessarily teachers, but students for sure. And so as an organization, if we're talking about, and we'll pull up this mission statement in a second here, but when we're talking about advocating for all students, increasingly that requires that we are thinking about racial justice and diversity and inclusion efforts at the forefront of everything that we do, not as an afterthought. So I just want to offer that as some introductory framing to the conversation that we're going to have. So Carolyn, if we could, I see your cat has joined us. Hello, Kitty. If we could share the PowerPoint, I'll just zoom through that really quickly, and then we can get into the meat of the conversation, which, by the way, the last reflection I just want to say from the introductions is there's so much experience in this group that I know this is kind of set up for you to learn from me, but I promise you that is probably the least amount of learning will occur over the next half hour at least. You all will be learning from each other, which is exactly the way it's supposed to be.
Andrew?
Yes, ma'am.
Gilletta told me that you would be sharing the PowerPoint.
Oh, did she? Well,
yes, and I don't have it.
Oh, I'm happy to share it. That's fine.
Okay.
Let's see.
You scared me there.
Oh, no, it's fine. No, it's fine. No, it's fine. Let's see. Let me just make sure I can. All right. Let's see. Slides. I know.
So go over to where it says slideshow over there at the top.
Is it button? Yes.
Right there.
Perfect.
From the beginning.
Excellent.
I know how to do a slideshow. I just didn't have it.
No problem. So is everyone seeing everything perfectly? Seeing the slides?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, perfect. So we did the introduction.
We're seeing your presenter view. We're not seeing the actual. So we're seeing like your second screen. Yeah.
Let's see if we can do something about that.
Yep. That's good.
Cool. So like I mentioned, our shared mission to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. And like I said before, I just want to dwell on that kind of all children point for a moment, because it means truly all children, not just our own, not just those that look like us. And so, when that is something embedded in our mission statement, it means that we need to be going out of our way to make that a priority, which is the conversation that we're having during today's workshop is really meant to be one of many, many steps toward making that a reality. And in some ways, it starts by listening to the stories of folks like Shelley, for example, who haven't felt welcomed in PTAs before, and who are looking to be part of that change. Our objectives tonight are going to be to define concepts of diversity, equity, inclusion. I have some definitions, but I think many of you defined them really well in your introductions. We're going to kind of analyze the diversity level and inclusion and equity in membership, leadership, programs, and advocacy in the PTA. And really here, what I want to emphasize is that we have to be thinking about DEI at each of these levels of our work. How do they apply to membership, recruitment, retention? How does it apply to leadership, training, elevation? How does it apply to the programs that we have? Who feels welcome? How are programs decided? Who's part of that decision-making process? And then when it comes to advocacy, are we prioritizing issues of racial justice and racial inclusion, even if they might be controversial, as part of our role as parent, community, teacher, advocates as part of the PTA? These are the different elements that I want to encourage us to be thinking about diversity, equity, inclusion efforts. And then later during the breakout sessions, as we're reflecting on our own PTAs, these are the places where I want folks to think about how diversity, equity, inclusion is manifesting. And then finally, we want to discover strategies to increase DEI and PTA. And again, I'm hoping that many of these surface from your own experiences and training notes, and also that this is the beginning of that conversation. So this is definitions of each of these terms. And again, I think many of you have defined them well in your introduction, but I just want to pull out a couple of elements here. So diversity is representation of and respect for people from different backgrounds and identities. And the piece that I want to emphasize here is that it's not just about representation, it's also about respect. And respect can look like many different things. I can tell you respect doesn't look like not representing certain cultures or identities in the classroom or in curriculum. It doesn't look like not advocating for policies that are going to show up for those who are kind of most marginalized in our schools. So it's not just about representation. It's not just about the number of people who are different, but it's about, are we creating an environment that proactively affirms the value of difference to our communities? So next, inclusion, the actions, behaviors, and social norms that ensure all people feel they are safe, welcomed, and that they belong. And here, the piece I want to pull out is the social norms element of this definition. And this is a little bit of a different perspective on what inclusion means. But you remember in the beginning of the workshop, I mentioned that I first joined the PTA as a high school student because we had a PTSA at my school. Well, there was a social norm that students weren't part of the PTA, even though it was a PTSA. And for a while, I was pretty uncomfortable joining. It was my mother, who was also a member of the PTA, that actually invited me to the meetings and encouraged me to join. So when you're thinking about inclusion, think about race, think about identity, think about age as well. Are we ensuring that folks of a variety of ages, including students, are able to feel like they belong in our organization? And then finally, equity. Equity provides fairness and resources, opportunities, and outcomes so that all communities get what they need to be engaged and successful. And I think Dan really hit on this earlier, talking about the difference between equality and equity. And the key phrase here is get what they need. So this is not about making sure everyone has the same. It's not about making sure everyone is given the same, but it's about making sure that folks have what they need in a world where all of us have different assets and different barriers that we face to be as successful, or to have the opportunity to be as successful as we can. And that's an important part of the definition there. This slide basically just doubles down on definition of equity. We just covered it, so I'm going to move on really quickly. But again, it's about moving beyond an equal across the board approach. And like I said, throughout this workshop, we want to think about some of these elements across the different components that make up the PTA. And so when it comes to membership, equitable membership, asking every parent to join, thinking back to why many of you first became involved with the PTA, the invitation that was so important to that, sharing messages that convey that every parent belongs in the PTA. And we'll talk a little bit about effective messages on the next slide. But again, it's about how we are communicating to our communities about the importance of everyone's voice. And so when it comes to effective messaging, these are just some ideas on what to think about as you're trying to craft messages that reflect the DEI values that your diversity has. We're going to send this PowerPoint out to folks afterwards, so I'm not going to spend too much time on here, but the idea is basically convey the value of PTA, convey what folks can gain from being part of the PTA, but importantly, convey what the PTA is doing for the community, and that includes everyone in the community. Again, leadership, another element on which to think about diversity, equity, and inclusion in the PTA. I look to things like bylaws and leadership requirements that might limit diversity. Think about how your diversity committee is using a DEI lens. If you don't have a diversity committee, perhaps consider creating one, and making sure to measure progress against DEI efforts. If there's no goal and there's no accountability toward progress on that goal, then it's very easy for DEI efforts to be marginalized. Thinking about programs, again, this is about being responsive to an increasingly diverse student and parent population. This is not about doing the things the way they've always been done, but it's about keeping pace of the changing needs that parents and students are bringing to the table. And by the way, a great example of this has just been recently with the pandemic. Fact of the matter is, folks that did not adapt to the needs, evolving needs of communities during the pandemic, felt really out of touch. We're not able to keep up with the changing times. So this is so important that we are listening and being responsive to everyone in our school communities. So I'm going to keep moving past some of these slides quickly. Again, we'll send these out, but I really want to make sure we have time to get to the small group activity here in the moment. Again, this slide just it's meant to emphasize that it's not diversity because it's a nice to have. It's diversity because if we're truly serious about creating equitable outcomes for all kids in our public schools, diversity is an imperative because the needs are increasingly diverse. Our response to those needs have to be increasingly diverse. So this is a central part of the PTA's mission. And then here you'll be able to start to see what DEI efforts might look like at different stages of implementation. And I want folks to internalize this slide for just a moment, because in a second, when we break out into small groups, I'm going to urge you to reflect on your own PTA experience and maybe try to assess where you are among these 4 stages. Are you in the beginning stage where you're starting to where you're maybe starting to have some of these conversations, but you're really not doing it with any kind of critical thought or really trying to change how you're approaching program design and implementation? Or are you more at the advanced level where you're really starting to take a systemic look at what's necessary to improve equity for all students across the board? So that's where I want folks to have their heads at for the next, and I think we're going to go for probably 15 minutes. What I'm going to do is, let me just go ahead and stop sharing for just a second. So we have a workshop, and Carolyn, do you have a copy of the workshop that you could share in a small group? Or
I already emailed out to everyone the small breakout group. You should have received an email today. So hopefully I can grab a link to it and
awesome.
drop it in the chat, but I'll have to do that at the individual breakout rooms. But hopefully somebody in each breakout room has it. Dan, do you have a printout? And I know Jim has a printout, so we'll make sure Dan's in one room and Jim's in another room.
Okay, awesome.
Does that work?
Yep. I think I'm about to make the breakout room. So when I make the breakout rooms, folks will use the handout that was sent to take a moment, reflect on your own PTA, thinking about some of the elements and kind of emphasis points that were throughout the workshop, and then go around and just answer the questions that are in the worksheet based on your own PTA experience, and then also be prepared for one person to share out to the big group once you return. And I'm going to actually break us into three breakout rooms.
And I would recommend we don't make these 15 minutes. I think we could probably do this in about 7 minutes if you got 3, because you're gonna have about 4 people.
Yep, I think that's right. So I'll plan to bring us back at 52. Do you think that's right, Carolyn?
I think that'd be good. Yeah.
Okay, I'll bring us back at 52. Let me just quickly assign everyone a room. And we said Dan and Jim need to be in separate rooms. Yeah.
Yes. Who else has a copy? Peg, do you have a copy? I can't see Peg. Peg, you're muted. Is there
Carolyn,
anybody?
I signed up rather late for the workshop. Do you want, I can look and see if I have it. I'd be happy to do it if I have it.
You do have it. I sent it to you in an email. So if you make sure Peg's in a separate room from Jim or Dan, then that will set us.
Perfect. Peggy, did you get an invitation to join room 3?
I am looking for your paperwork.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Okay, and I don't want to hold you up. Is anybody else in group 3 have the paperwork? I'd be happy.
I don't know.
Yeah, Rachel and Shelley are already in
Yeah.
there.
I wonder if they have the paperwork.
Pop in there, Peg, and I'll join you in just a minute.
All righty.
Yeah, I thought I had the link to this pulled up. I'm just having trouble. Is the
Activity document.
oh,
It's not a link, it's a hard copy.
yep, it's a hard
And
copy.
I think that's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
As soon as I saw that. Okay. Let me see if I can pop into room 3, right?
Yes, let me see. How do you I actually don't know how to hop into a room.
So I believe if you have it pulled up, you can see the word join there. As a co-host and a host, you can just jump into a room.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, I will bring them back at 52.
Okay, I'm going to jump into 3 real quick.
Okay, I'll jump into 2 then. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Carolyn. I'm sure my group was not the only one that got cut off before we were able to finish. But thank you everyone for engaging in that conversation. And then I would love, we have 7 minutes left. I would love if each group, at least one person from each group could just reflect for a moment on some of what was raised. So does someone from group 1 want to share some reflections or read out?
I don't know what number we were, but I guess I can go. I was the one taking notes.
Oh yeah, Jim, you were in group 2, but go ahead and go. Go ahead and go.
Okay. So most of us thought we were beginning, emerging, or intermediate. None of us had the illusion that we were advanced. And I think from the list of things that we could do to level up would be ask people, ask every parent, invite families with kids, grandparents, the whole family unit. Have those difficult conversations, discuss exactly what we're talking about tonight, have a meeting about it, and start those difficult conversations, or the conversations you're not so sure about having or how they're going to go. There was also sort of a consensus between most of us that the school districts and the principals are conscious of diversity and inclusion, and that they might be a little bit more further ahead than our PTAs, but we're working on it. And I had written down, be inviting and be welcoming.
Excellent. Thanks, Jem. Does someone from group 3 want to go? I think that was the group that Carolyn entered.
I think that was us in group 3. And we had a lot of similar thoughts to Jim's group. I know in our district, I shouldn't say that, in our unit specifically, we are definitely at the beginning stages. We are barely talking about this. Shelley spoke to the fact that across her district, the schools are probably in levels beginning, emerging, and intermediate as well, kind of in varied states, depending on the school leadership as well as the PTA leadership. And really, Shelley also talked about, which I think was great, as Jim did as well, the importance of the school board and just the kind of conversations that the school boards are having, and really using that to guide our work in the PTA, to see the system-wide goal and then to personalize it to our unit and our participants and our other community members as well, to get them more on board.
Excellent. And by the way, I think the school board is a great point and a great partner for PTAs if we're able to build that relationship. Okay, someone from group one. So if Jim or Rachel wasn't in your group, you were in group one.
So what we kind of started talking, and I had posed a question because I spoke from my council level way of thinking. I have 9 schools, and you know, I took it from a step of, you know, I have a school that starts their budget year off with 1,800 and a school that starts their budget year off with 19,000. And the school that has $1,800 does a whole lot better job of DEI practices and DEI level of inclusion and programs than the school with 19,000. Now, to say that kind of, you know, brings to light is that I'm the president-elect of that school with the 19,000. So how do I go about fixing that problem moving forward? Because, you know, we had a committee get into an argument over a daddy-daughter dance because of inclusion. And I think it was the way it was just sold. So we were discussing that when we got cut off, and kind of Shelley was in the, Miss Lowe was in the middle of saying something when we got cut off. So I'm sorry, Shelley, I didn't actually hear everything you were saying.
Thank you, Dan. And Shelley, we have a few minutes if you wanted to finish anything that you were saying when you got cut off.
Oh, I was just kind of saying that our school, I'm at Grand Park in Plainfield, Illinois, District 308, and I feel like we are closer to the advanced. And I was saying before we got cut off, honestly, a lot of it is we kind of had a complete overall of the entire board. So we all new board members, and I know that's not always feasible, but honestly, I think that has been the key to our success. Is we kind of got all new people. We're all very diverse. We all have the same ideas, and so you don't get that cliquish feeling. And I think because of that, we're able to do a lot more. And when you see us as a whole, we're completely different women from all walks of life. We have different personalities. We all connect with people differently. And I think if they would not have had this new board, I probably would not have been on, and we would not have had a diversity and inclusion committee. So like you were saying about stuck in the ways of how it's always been done, it's a big deal. And even in some of the schools where they're a little more higher socioeconomic, they really get stuck in, just like you said, the daddy-daughter dance. And I kind of had to fight to say, we need to have it as a daughter dance and any adult can come. So just simple things like that can be really hard with the stuck in the ways.
Thank you for adding that into this space, Shelley, and I completely agree. And I, you know, speaking as someone who's kind of on the national board, but did not come up through the PTA as a parent, you know, I really experience a lot of that cliquishness even at that level, and it can be hard to feel like you belong, like your voice or contribution matters. And so I totally hear you, and I think it's something that all of us across the PTA can play a role in trying to change the culture around. You know, we should be all about new leadership and emerging leaders, and not about maintaining the status quo, because our students aren't about maintaining the status quo, and we need to be able to meet them where they're at and show up for them. So we are right at time. I am not going to keep folks later because Carolyn warned me against that. But thank you very much for your engagement throughout this workshop. We'll make sure to send out the PowerPoint. I'm also just going to drop my PTA email here in case anyone would like to reach out to me. But just thank you for taking some of your time out today to be part of this conversation. And just like I have iterated throughout, it really is meant to be just one touch point in a hopefully constellation of conversations and initiatives and workshops that you all get to be a part of on this issue, because I think it's very important for the PTA. Carolyn, anything to close us out?
Well, number one, I'd like to thank you, Andrew. You did a fabulous job at the beginning of this. You said it was the first time you presented this material, but it did not come across that way. You were very well versed and prepared for the presentation, and we appreciate it very much. I am going to stop the recording now, so thank you very much. And now that the recording stopped, I'm gonna, if you want to stick around for a minute or two, if anybody has any direct questions for you, we can just open up mics. If anybody, put up your hand, and we'll call on you if you have a direct question that you have for Andrew. But if you can't stay with us, we totally understand. Catherine's got her hand up. Catherine, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Great. You did a great job tonight, Andrew. A great job tonight.
Thank you.
We did get cut off. We did get cut off our presentation real kind of quick. But what I was trying to tell Mr. Dan, that we do have in my district, we have a diverse PTAs in District 20, in District 23.